Thank you. I love you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Keep eating this.
Don't worry, we're like still in Richmond. Really? Yeah, like this McDonald's for so long.
Oh, that's not happening. No. Your surgeries had confirmed.
We bought $160 worth of
I can see your nips.
Yeah, sure. So next.
You're on each team, right?
I am. No, it's because it's extending, it's not duplicating.
You don't want
Are we starting the meeting or like what's happening? There we go.
There we go. Okay, so I'm calling. Hi. So I'm calling this meeting to order at 10:44 a.m. Attendance, I don't believe anyone is missing today. Oh, yeah, except for Tyler. Tyler didn't send me a proxy, so I didn't know about it. But Angela is also not here, and she couldn't be with us today. So we actually meet quorum, and we're gonna move on to the second item on the agenda, which is amendments to the agenda. Yes, Vanessa?
Can we include a work night winner discussion?
Okay, sure.
Top club and top content.
Okay, all those who approve of this amendment, raise your hand and say aye.
I also second this for
Thanks for seconding it. All those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? Seeing as there are none, I'm just going to add that to discussion item. Oh, wait, sorry. And is there any other amendments to the agenda? If not, we can approve it. All those who approve that the agenda be adopted as amended, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? Seeing as there are none, the agenda has been adopted. Membership and new introductions. So we have a lot of new incoming members from the board and exec for the 2016-2017 year. Would you guys like to kind of introduce yourselves? Just say your name and what position you're in.
I'm Kevin, and I'm the fourth year rep. Thank you guys for having me.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
And then I don't think there's anyone else in that row. This row, Evan.
I'm Evan. I'm the incoming second year rep.
Woo!
Hello, hi, I'm Sapnil. I'm the incoming third year rep.
Oh, hi, I'm Matthew. I'm the incoming vice president of finance. Sam, I'm incoming VP academics. Yeah.
I'm Taryn. I'm the incoming ombudsperson.
I'm Matthew, and I'm the incoming third year rep.
Okay, awesome.
No.
No, what? Alistair.
I'm Alistair. I'm the incoming fourth year rep.
Woo! Okay, and today we have our first presenter, which is Graham Nixon for NSCC. You guys can start now.
So we made a really detailed presentation, so I hope you guys are ready. Sorry we got this to you so late. This is gonna be very conversational because I think like what we're trying to propose here is nothing controversial. We just want to get your blessing on it. My name is Graham. I've been involved in the SAR community for a long time. So like Taylor, we like to just take our sweet, sweet time with graduation. In particular, I've been really involved in the consulting community. I was the president of the consulting club, vice president at one point. And then with a few friends started the National Strategy Consulting Conference, as well as helping out the SCMP program. So all things consulting kind of come around me, which is super exciting. And as part of the NSCC, as you guys know, it's going into its 4th year. So we just made our hires to Peter and Lillian, which is super exciting. So I met with them. And what we would like to do is, if you look at NIBC, which is obviously a very successful conference, one of the things that really makes it work is this idea of an advisory council. So something that turns over from year to year, as people involved in it that have been involved in the conference, also from industry. And this is what we'd like to ultimately implement for the NSCC. So here's a resolution that we'd hope for you guys to pass. If you want to amend it, you can. Be it resolved, the CUS Board of Directors and CUS Executive Team formally recognizes the NSCC Board of Advisors. Yeah, that's the Board of Advisors. That would definitely be amended. With the goal of driving greater accountability and efficacy of the NSCC Executive Team. So right off the bat, I want to make it crystal clear that what we're trying to do is not take away authority from the CUS. Because the NSCC is a CUS service, ultimately the board, you are responsible for it, and the executive are responsible for overseeing the operations of it. What this is essentially a tool for not only this year's NSCC executive, but all incoming NSCC executives to create continuity with regards to content, with regards to sponsorship, with regards to lessons learned from previous years. It's essentially, as I said, a tool of the executive. It's not. And it's not taking away any accountability. You wouldn't be able to fire anyone. Those are still all your powers, and we're not trying to take away from that. If anything, we're just trying to add to it. So last slide here is just really what the reasons are. For the composition of it, we are going with people that are either highly involved with one of our previous sponsors, so that they're currently working at one of our sponsor companies, as well as previous co-chairs or leadership of the conference. So we have specific names for the people that would take on the role for this incoming year. I can share that with you. But again, I mean, this is I'm at the end of my presentation, so happy to take questions. What we're trying to do is get you to formally recognize that this group exists, that they would be in contact with you if they saw any problems, that they would be able to highlight early warning signals that something's not going right, or we need some sort of additional support. Again, the responsibility, accountability comes down to this CUS board and executive.
To just add on to that before we open it for questions, this year, some of the issues that NSCC faced could easily have been addressed by an advisory board. And so one specific one being, for instance, the case, and the other maybe being participation from firms. So to maybe flesh that out further, in terms of the case, of course, we're going to still have students help and develop the case, because this is a learning experience for them as well. But having some professionals and individuals who have experience with NSCC involved in developing the case, it can add some legitimacy to it and make it a lot more cohesive. And the second point with getting firms involved, instead of making it some thing where we just email random people hoping to get some bites, if we have involvement from people in firms as well as people with these connections, it makes that a lot more easy, a lot more streamlined. It simply takes away the issue of focusing on these small little problems and allows the new incoming team to focus on growth and other areas that we think are just a little bit more important. Yeah, so I guess if you guys have any questions, objections, if you don't like my hair, please speak up.
Right now, we have 4 members. So myself, Cecilia Wang, who's also one of the co-founders, Andrew Samore, and Ken Greer.
I was going to pay it for, or
it would likely grow. I think it'd be kind of on a need basis, on a participation basis. These are just the 3 individuals and myself.
And given the growth that you project for this sport, will the CUS be in the loop whenever we add new board members?
Yeah. It would be, again, it's another institution. We wouldn't buy anything for you. We have nothing to tell you from that. So if you make any changes, it'd just be we'd slip it through CUS Exec, that filter up to the board.
And who would essentially choose these board members, yourself, the founder, or?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I mean, right now, the process is that it's just people that are super passionate and want to give back and have connections to the consulting world. In the future, we probably need to hammer out a formal process, which would likely just be like a vote from the board to whether take in people or let people remove themselves. But right now, it's just be 1 year commitments.
How's NIBC's board selected?
Yeah, so NIBC's board, it was initially, I guess, some of the founders of it. So Philip Chua, Noam, all those individuals. And what happened was that slowly they felt that they needed more involvement from the local community. So people just started jumping on board, and there wasn't really a selection process because it is an autonomous body of the finance group. So it hasn't grown that much as of late, but because organically they started off with a smaller group and realized they need more people to get some industry connection, it started growing. The difference between us and them is that we have the US executive board who will aid us in making decisions to add on people, but it's not going to become this from 4 or the 100 people. It'll be like at most 10 in the long term. But yeah.
So would the board's would our main contact be with the advisory board, or would it still with the chair?
No, it'd still be with the chair of the club. So you could see, so Peter and Lillian this year would be, they're the co-chairs of the NICC. They would be your main contact, your go-to. We are essentially tools, assistants of Peter and Lillian to make sure that they're driving the firm sponsorship they need, flagging any problems, especially with the case as it goes. You would really only hear from us if there was like something really going wrong, like things weren't getting done. Yes.
Jennifer.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I know a couple of conferences, and I do see, like you mentioned, like Scholar Summit, they have boards. Do you know if there have been issues with the relationship in any other conferences?
I'm unaware.
Yeah. Speaking to it, like knowing people with NIBC, PVCC, not Scholar Summit necessarily, there haven't been issues, and those boards are a lot more powerful. Like this isn't necessarily a board of directors. It's a advisory board, and we've even framed it like that so that people on the board recognize that this is to advise the students rather than to take over their role and lead the conference.
Like some of the issues that we've had with PVCC in the past few months have also partially been the fact that they answer to their board.
Yeah.
And they're ultimately responsible to their board, whereas like in this case, the board is there to advise, but the board will not be able to like demand like this happen or tell them what to do.
Exactly. If there was actions like that, it would have to come through you. So it'd be an email sent to the COS executive board, be like, you need to take a look at this, but ultimately like the power remains with the COS.
Any other questions? If not, let's say thank you for coming in so early and giving us Yeah.
Yeah.
Help yourself to some
Good.
McDonald's. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next presentation is Ben Gardner's.
Ben, are you ready?
For your meeting presentation.
Yeah, I was gonna add a couple more weeks to it. Like we could go now. Like, is there
Let's do it in the end of it.
Yeah, we can do it at the end. We'll do it at the end.
if you have any other ones, forward them along.
Okay. So next up is AMS representative report.
Sorry, just quick, but did Shiv say he's not coming?
Shiv was supposed to come, but he's not here.
Yeah, because I thought you said that. So he's not accounted for then?
Oh, I don't believe so. Let me double check.
And yeah, that one's not here.
Cause I changed the date from Saturday to Sunday. So
You mean Sunday? Saturday.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, thanks for the correction.
That's what happened last time.
So yeah, you go message him and see if he'll come up. But next up is the AMS representative report. So Lisa and Catherine.
Not much has been happening lately. We just had AMS elections, as you all know. So everyone's been elected, and there's been not too much with that. But in addition to that, right now, AMS block party tickets are on sale. If you haven't bought your block party ticket, please buy your block party ticket. They're gonna get more expensive, but you guys should go. And also, there's another discussion item that I've already put down for later. So maybe we can talk about that there, but that's what I have.
Okay, awesome. Also, sorry, Rupe, I just checked. Shiv said he'll come after 1:30. So if the meeting goes that well, I'll let him know. Next up would be the Commerce Student Center report, but Tyler's not here, so and I don't think he sent a report to anyone else. And then the next item, moving on, is Ombuds report. So Taryn?
So no more complaints, no more appeals, and actually the one investigation that I was supposed to do got canceled. They didn't want to do it anymore, so that's okay. And the UBC Ombuds meeting was canceled again, so that has to be rescheduled. So there's not much going on right now.
All right, thank you. Next up is the executive report. First one is Vilao, president.
Not much, just really wrapping things up. There are 3 meetings that I want the outgoings to be to take note of. The first is March 29th, so that is next Tuesday at 12:30. That's the faculty caucus. So you have, if you're on the academic committee, you had already received an email from me. So make sure you go to that. Sam, are you proxying for someone for that meeting or?
I don't know yet. No one has messaged me or anything.
Okay, we'll see. I'll talk to you later about that then. And then April 5th, 5 p.m. is our last meeting with faculty. It's to remind you all of the monthly meetings that we do. We have Kim, Pam, and Shannon, and all of them. So all of the executives are invited to that. That's April 5th. That's 2 Tuesdays from now, and it's at 5 p.m. Before last lecture for those who are graduated. And then lastly, we have April 7th, 9 a.m., and this is for all outgoing board and exec. This is the meeting with Dean Bob. Again, it's at 9 a.m., location to be A, but I will send you more details, so make sure that you have that open. And then finally, I'm going to be circulating a card for Shannon Sterling and also Dean Bob / like the rest of faculty in his office. I'll leave the cards in the office, so next week, if you guys have time, just go to the office and sign the cards. I still have to get them, but I'm just gonna give you guys a heads up. I'll probably send out an email when I buy the cards for you to sign, so make sure everybody signs those cards. And that's about it.
You said CUS meeting with the dean is on the 7th?
It's separate for outgoings and incoming, so you guys have a different date.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
The dates that I mentioned are all for outgoing.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the final decision on the CAB situation?
I believe the final decision was that we were going to leave it, but we have to motion it as board. Unless like the new team wants to take that on, I would like. You wanna leave this here?
Are we?
Cause I wasn't there when you guys discussed it at exec, so.
Oh, yeah, we said we were gonna recommend a leave cap.
Okay, do you wanna add that to discussion then?
Okay, I'm gonna amend the agenda. Vanessa wants to
Yeah,
add,
motion to amend the agenda and include, CAB's discussion.
okay, anyone who seconds this?
Second is.
Seconded by Ryan Crasta. All those who approve of this amendment, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Is that all? Do you guys, can you raise your hand and say aye? All those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, so I'm gonna add that onto the discussion item. Next up is Vice President Academic Affairs. Adam isn't here today, and I don't know if, did he leave a report to anyone? Okay, so I guess we're gonna move on to VP External Affairs Group.
Okay, so I got the reports for transition from NST, Top 40, Imprint, and Waiting on Me Inc. I will be following up with them this week. They're supposed to send this week. And I'm also waiting on it from EMP. So for those who don't know, these are just the transition docs. So all the transition docs are basically ready. And they're not like the ones in the past. Also, me and will be presenting this Tuesday about their conference. What I heard, it went well, so we'll see if that's the case. Other than that, really nothing has happened.
Awesome. So moving on is finance.
So for FinCom, there's not really anything to report. They've just been doing the reimbursements and all that fun stuff. Mid-year report that was done and sent to UC. It's now posted on the website. Policy committee, we had our second meeting, and we'll be discussing some proposed policy changes today. The documents have been sent out to you, and you should have this morning, and you should have received them incomings. I don't know if you've received them. Jen, can you forward it to incomings? Yeah, thanks. Class giving initiatives. So I went to the initial meeting, and as the CUS representative for Vanessa, provided some suggestions. So we tried to manage their expectations of how much money they'd be able to get. They didn't really end up getting a heck of a lot. So we decided as CUS to do like a $250 anonymous donation at the last exec meeting, with the reasoning being that this is the first year of something it could use a little help to get along the way and put it above the 50% thing on the thermometer. It looks a little pathetic when it's down that far. So we made it pretty clear that this is a one-time thing and it's not going to be like a CUS is funding this class giving thing every year. So yeah, general things. We gave me a bit more money, paid the SPF money to PVCC, BizCom, and BizTech. Finished the co-op refunds for term 2, except for a few people who I'm still waiting to send me addresses and documents and stuff. CUS no longer has a credit card for the rest of this year because there were fraud charges placed on it. This is a really huge deal because we will set up a new card under Matt's name, and MasterCard refunds the fraud charges because we reported them. Mostly done turnover stuff. We're doing another meeting with Matt later on to teach him how the spreadsheets and stuff actually work.
More of the fraud charges? What exactly happened?
Oh, it was just there were our credit card had a hold on it, and when the AMS looked into it, it was because there was charges at places that how on credit cards if your spending doesn't match your historical pattern, the credit card company will put a hold on it. That's basically what happened, and it turns out there was stuff that we didn't buy that didn't belong to the card. So someone got our credit card number, or someone who had the credit card number from using it to pay for venues, etc. Bought things. It's probably more likely that someone just got our credit card number from somewhere.
Okay, Alex?
Just related to finance, PMS hasn't heard back yet whether or not we funded them.
Oh, right, because we forgot to vote.
Yeah. Do that now
yeah.
that we're on finance.
It is, we don't have to vote for it here.
Okay.
We voted in an exec meeting.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We just.
I thought Angela was gonna email them.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could just tell them and then tell them to invoice us.
Okay.
Okay. Is that everything?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Next up is VP Internal Affairs, Fred.
Not much happening with wrapping things up. Awards night is coming up. The chair, Jared, is in and out of the hospital with concussion and other fever-like symptoms, and he's been battling that for a while now. So he's been kind of on and off, out of commission. The rest of the team is stepping up, but there are some loose ends that need to be wrapped up before everything can go ahead and plan. So they're presenting on Tuesday, and then we'll help them get everything together for the event on Thursday. Awards are pretty much decided. We'll be discussing top awards later. Individual awards have all been decided as of exec meeting, sorry. And the UGO has also decided on their individual awards.
Oh, can we know about those awards, those awards that you have already talked about?
If we move to the camera.
Yeah.
Right, that's it. That's really it for me.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Fred. Next up is Jen, VP Marketing Communications.
Okay, so for the College Squad, this upcoming month, April, they're partnering up with TV for exam season. So they're distributing popsicles on Monday, April 4th. And it's going to be a 3-day event. Cavaliers, they're going to push out their last issue on either early April or the last week of March. So it should be coming out very soon. Visual media, nothing too new. Cap, nothing. Yearbook. So yearbook is doing something different this year, and what they're doing for the grad section specifically, just because grads, in year, but it's mostly for grads. There's an option for baby photos, a little write-up, as well as like nominations, like nominate who's, you know, most likely to be on Saturday Night Live, things like that. So we sent it out to all the grads, and there's a CUS photo shoot for all the outgoing this upcoming Monday. So everyone has, you know, filled it out for the doodle, and so 10 o'clock we get our total. And we're going to have a social afterwards. So it shouldn't take more than, I would say, like past 11 for the photo. And then around there, like Debbie's going to figure out, like make some suggestions, or you guys can make some suggestions on the Facebook group, and we can decide on where to go.
Oh my God.
Okay. And oh yeah, we finalized on the valedictorian for this upcoming year. So that was done by me, Shannon, Craig who's communications with the UGO, Brian, Sam, and Jess came in to check out interviews as well to help out with that process. There is the spring welcome for all the incoming service counselors, as well as all the board and exec. So April 2nd, you need to be there at 11 a.m. If you're a Spark leader, of course, or peer leader, like you have a different time to attend. So that's that. April 8th is our incoming meet with the dean, and that's at 3 p.m. So I know it's like the last day of school and there's a block party too, but I honestly don't think it should take more than like an hour, right? So April 8th, 3 p.m. meet with the dean. And for the incoming executives, we realized like there's actually so much for us to kind of like wrap our heads around. So we're initiating our first like pre-turnover like exec meeting for this week. And so the most popular date is March the 29th. So 5 p.m. So that's kind of like what the incoming is doing right now.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's
All right, thank you. So next up is Alex with VP Student Engagement.
Yep, so.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, so grad night is really my final thing that's going on. Yeah, it's today. And the team seems really happy. I talked to Bowie last week and everything seems to go really well. So looking forward to it. First committee had their big gala a couple days ago. They absolutely killed it. Heard some awesome feedback and some awesome reviews of that. So really good to know. I heard something about a sea animal. I can't remember what it was. It was like an octopus or something. I'm not sure what that was, but that's something else. And then CISA is finished, along with basically everything except for Kiwis, which has a big part of it up. So yeah, that's it from my student engagement. What? It's like an exam package.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and the boat cruise. Yes, the boat cruise.
How's the Paradox coming?
Yeah, what happened?
Oh, how did that go?
Did anyone go?
Well, what happened?
No? Go on.
Crickets.
Okay, well, yeah, we decided to just join venture with FUS, AUS, LFS US. It was an interesting experience, to say at least, but yeah, I think we sold 50 tickets, 250. I'm not too sure, I can't remember the exact numbers, but like, it wasn't as expected, but apparently it still was fantastic, so. Yeah. What's that?
You didn't go?
No, I had real estate industry.
Did any commerce students go?
I'm not too sure. So just for future references, I say, as much as I really want to promote inter-faculty stuff, I think if we do stuff that we should lead it and not just like attach to other people. That's just my opinion, especially if we're funding a quarter of it. So, yeah.
We should be able to figure out how many commerce students.
I will figure that out for us. Yes.
Because if like one wins, and the fund is like a quarter of it,
Yes.
that student's getting a lot of benefit.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So just future lessons for the CUS.
How much did it cost?
I think total for us it's going to be about $1,000, just over.
Okay. Thank you, Alex.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks for all the executive reports. So now we're gonna move on to committee reports. As Taylor already talked about it, and if you check your emails, there are some policy changes, and we're gonna talk about it now. So Taylor.
Okay. Sorry, trying to bring up the document.
Also, I forwarded the policy changes to all the incoming, so if you haven't gone through.
Okay, so do people have them up?
Mm-hmm.
So basically the first one is, as some of you may know, a few years back, the CUS set up an endowment. Along with that, there's supposed to be an endowment committee, which we didn't set up because no one really told us we were supposed to. So basically the purpose of this is to set up the endowment committee. So there's a document and there's a purpose as outlined in this document that I've listed here. Basically that was from the previous boards, so we're just gonna leave the purpose as the same, just so you're aware. But in policy committee, we proposed that the membership would be the president, the VP finance, one other member of the executive council, 2 members of the board of directors, and 1 member at large. Thoughts, feelings about this?
Should president, the whole thing just be the ex officio members?
Part of the reason we didn't put ex officio members is we thought it was sort of like the building users committee in that it would be having meetings with faculty, et cetera, and having the ex officio members sort of like adds a larger number of people that probably should be on there, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I don't know how we want to actually do the voting on this, but
Maybe you can explain everything, and then
Explain
we'll
all the policy changes.
and then we'll go one by one again, like
okay,
last time.
so VP finance rules, they're way out of date. Basically just because they include dates, so the AMS has changed the dates at which they do things. So the first part, which is like when it has to be presented to the budget has to be presented to the board of directors, changed to June 30th. This is the way we've basically been doing it. But yeah, and then it says, and also add in that they have to present the budget to the society in the form of a budget report no later than July 31st of the relevant year of operation.
Taylor.
Yeah.
When are our budgets due to the AMS this year?
They haven't set a date and they like to kind of change it, but it's usually sometime in July.
Just for Matt to be aware, I don't know if this is going to be relevant to constituencies, but from my understanding for AMS clubs, the budget submission deadline has been pushed to October. And I have no idea how the hell that's gonna work in terms of AMS making their own budget, but like it's October. And I was like very skeptical and I was very confused, but I asked multiple presidents and they all said that it was October.
Okay, we're gonna leave ours like this because we should have a budget by the time.
Oh yeah, we should have a budget.
So we're keeping it like this, unless people have issues about the change.
I just wanted to bring it up.
But this is basically what we did this year, minus the budget report thing. Didn't do a budget report, forgot I was supposed to, so it's now in the policy, not just like a thing that you're supposed to do, it's explicitly there. Then we added publish a mid-year financial report on or before January 31st, detailing the financial position of the CUS at December 31st of the relevant year of operation. So basically how it's set up, how the, what the reporting requirements were before was that during the first 2 weeks of the exam period, the VP Finance had to have a report posted showing the statement of financial position. And the reason for changing the dates, there's another one at the end too about an end of year financial report, is just the VP Finance generally has exams like everyone else. I didn't this semester, but I would have in the first semester, and I didn't want to be making a financial report in the first 2 weeks. And it kind of makes more sense to do it as at like the end of the semester, where were we, as opposed to like, where were we at this arbitrary date that we chose to present it on. So it's basically making it more like you would see the reporting of a company, so at quarter end or things like that. For us, it would be term end because that's the logical way that we split up the year. So the last one that's added is will publish a year-end financial report no later than May 31st of the year of operation, subsequent to their term as VP Finance. This report shall be the final responsibility of an outgoing VP Finance. So the logic behind this is, as you know, our turnover is April 1st, but there are some people, notably the VP Finance, that still have reimbursements and et cetera up until like the April 30th fiscal year end, which is our fiscal year end. So basically, like, we were trying to change actually at the policy committee meeting that, like, if execs had things for their, like, to still finish up for before they went out for their year of operation, it would make sense for them to actually finish that up. But that's actually, like, the turnover date's actually in our constitution, so to change it, we need a referendum. So this is basically being added in here for in the thought that, like, next year or when the first set of elections happens, there will be like one for a constitutional change saying that people, like, the turnover date is still April 1st, but execs that have like roles and sort of like stuff from the previous fiscal year that stretches into the next one will stay to finish it up. So for instance, like grad night sometime takes place in April, and the grad night people shouldn't turn over on April 1st because that would just be silly. So it's stuff like that. So it basically would allow for that stuff to be, for those people to hold, like, to do what they need to do to finish up their position for that year to a logical point. So the next, we had some EXCO policy stuff. So there's some stuff that needed to be updated to be brought in line with our current processes. So there was stuff about basically your restrictions as to how many things in your time at solder you can, how many times during your time at solder you can request EXCO funding. We're just saying we should probably strike that just because we don't really keep records in a way that makes it enforceable. Just because between like EXCO and the fact that it's between different portfolios and the multiple turnovers involved, it's not really something we can restrict. So what would still be in there would be the restrictions for how many times in a given year you can apply. But there wouldn't be restrictions for over your time at solder. So reimbursement policy. So basically, there's a lot of just fairly small updates here because there's a lot of things that we just do it a different way, and the reason for this is it allows, like, in the first line for the VP Finance to make exceptions, but right now I'm not very strict on the requirements, so it's more bringing it in line with what we actually do. So there was a bit about like reimbursing cell phone plans. We don't do that, so just removing the fact that we would reimburse cell phone plans from there because I had someone ask about that, and I basically just said no, we don't do that anymore. There's a restriction for food at meetings, and as you all know, we just had food at this meeting. So we're putting with the exception of board of directors meetings, and stating that the food should be like shareable in nature to encourage the attendance of the general membership of the society. Because that was really the original reason why we started having food at board of directors meetings, is so like encourage people to come. If that makes sense. Then the next one is for co-op refunds, basically saying students must submit documentation no later than February 28th of the relevant academic year to be eligible. The current wording had it said that they had to submit it basically by December, which doesn't make sense because some students do co-op terms in term 2. Like more than half of them do co-op terms in term 2. So we need to allow them to submit it in term 2 as well. Reimbursement shall be processed, or this is again for co-op refunds, it's the reimbursement shall be processed at least twice yearly during the first 2 weeks of November and March. This is basically what was done this year. All of them were collected and they were all processed as a group. 11.12 B, C, and D, basically this is like the time period with the expectations for how reimbursements can happen, or like when they can happen. It was just change all the 10 business days. So it was, that was basically it. Oh, and then 11.13C, change to prior to the end of the fiscal year. So that's the limit for when people have to submit the reimbursements. Before, it was like they had to be submitted like 2 weeks before the end of the fiscal year, but that doesn't make a lot of sense because you should be able to submit it before the end of the fiscal year. Clubs policy. So the club's policy is out of date. Basically, it was the club's roster. Brian sent me the club's roster. It's just all we'd be doing is changing the list, so it listed the clubs that we've currently issued as CUS clubs.
In that section though, I do believe it also says right underneath that, this list can and will be subject to change as like the club review committee says these, so.
Okay, so
It's really a cosmetic update.
okay, cool. Maybe we don't actually have to go on that.
Like we can change it just like to update it, because last time it was done was, like, I don't know, like, whenever the constitution actually came out, so we've got some clubs that are like defunct and like don't actually operate anymore, like e-business club, I think.
Yeah.
But, right underneath it also says that this list is subject to change whenever. So we should be checking it. It's just more of a cosmetic thing.
Okay.
So for the next one down, we talked about updating the variable contributions. So we give clubs a flat subsidy at the beginning of the year of $600. At the end of the year, we give them, right now it's $2 per CUS member. And basically we talked about updating it to $3 per CUS member, just because like it's been a while since we changed that. If you ask the general membership of the society things they know we do, they know we fund clubs and they like that we fund clubs. It adds value to students who probably don't use some of our other services, so we figured it made sense to just update, maybe give the clubs a bit more money, because a lot of them come and apply for special projects funding. So the next bit we've got here all relates to hiring policy. So 705B was to allow for a member of the HR commission as equity rep when hiring service council directors. So the logic behind this is that this year, while hiring council directors, they wanted to, the incomings wanted to be able to do the hiring sort of in two different sets. So you can have two sets of interviews going on at the same time just to make it more efficient. So instead of having to have all the executives and the HR director there, or however many executives and the HR director there, you could do it with a smaller committee. So it would allow someone from the HR commission to sit in on it. And the logic behind this was that Raffles basically said that the HR commissioners are trained to the same sort of standard that the HR director is. So they should be able to fill in for the HR director on these sorts of things. The other policy change related to this was that changed the requirements. So instead of, so that it was only required one of it. So it would require the executive council member, hiring a service council directors would require the executive council member whose portfolio it was, plus just one other member of the executive council. So basically lowering the requirements for how many people you need to have on the hiring committee. And again, to just make it, to facilitate a bit more efficiency in the actual hiring. And along with that, it was sort of just because we felt that having those two people provided enough variance of opinion as opposed to having 6. The next one was right now we only have one acceptable allowable interview format. You've all probably sat in and done some interviews or been interviewed in this format. It's basically where we ask all the candidates the same set of questions and we're allowed to have a certain number of probing questions. Now the problem with that is for some types of these services we run, most notably conferences and JDC West, this format doesn't necessarily make sense. So what we were proposing here is allowing 2 interview formats. So we're calling the first one the current semi-structured format, and the second would be, the new one would be a pitch format. So the restrictions for this would be that the candidates have to be notified of the format of the interview at the time that they apply, so that they know if they actually have to prepare a pitch and all that sort of stuff. What we're proposing is that the semi-structured format will remain unchanged. But the pitch format will basically involve a pitch of a length determined by the hiring committee. So when they're notified of their interview, they'll be told how long their pitch can be. Following the pitch, the hiring committee may ask questions for a specified period of time. So again, they will be told how long this is. And these questions do not need to be the same for all candidates. So this gets around basically the issue that happened, particularly with JDC West hiring this year, where they had different they were proposing different things, so it made sense to ask them different questions. So this is basically just formalizing that you are allowed to do it this way, provided you notify the candidates that's how it's going to be done. Also in here, we said that this interview format may be combined with more traditional interview questions, but these must remain consistent across all candidates, notwithstanding probes as allowed under the semi-structured format. So what's that saying is, if you do want to do a pitch format, you can still have part of the interview where you ask them, like, tell me about yourself. Why do you want this position, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, provided you keep those consistent across candidates. And then the second sub-point here is that the other rules re-interviews will still apply. So that's like being equitable, being respectful, all that sort of stuff. Okay, that's all the policy changes. Yeah, be loud.
Question for, just some clarification that sorry. For number 7, it says change to one other member of the executive council for the interviews, right?
Yeah.
What is it now?
Yeah, here, I'll just pull it up.
Like, how much did you reduce it by?
We reduced it by 1.
Oh, so before it'd be like 3, now it's just.
Well, yeah, now before you needed two plus the person whose portfolio it was, now you need 1 plus the person whose portfolio.
And this is a minimum, so for example,
Yeah.
like, it's not a, like, for example, if there's one executive that wants to be on it, like, can he still be on it?
Yeah.
Or- okay.
Rita?
So then, who decides whether or not the format is more appropriate for the service question?
It would be whoever is coming up with the, basically the job description and job posting. So if the, I guess, because this would probably mostly be done with service director, like you could technically use it for whoever you want, but if the relevant, like, service council executive thinks they want to hire it in this way, then they can hire it this way.
Wait, do you mean that if the VP of that service share doesn't agree with that format of interview, they can tell them no, you switch it back to
Well,
kind of thing?
like, because if it's only for people that are on the, like, that are the service council chairs, so the people who lead the service council positions, right? Then the person who posts the job posting is the VP. So if it's JDC West, it's the VP academic. So when they're doing the job posting, the format of interview has to be in the job posting, so they've set it there. Yeah. That makes sense.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Vanessa?
So when do you think you're going to write up the formal, like, how it's gonna be written on the actual?
Most of them is just removing and stuff like that, like the formal written up stuff. The 7.03 section, that'll be written up minus that typo that's there. That'll be how it's written up. The other stuff, it will, since it's mostly just changes, it'll just be like making the edits, if that makes sense. And also for the finance policy, VP finance rules stuff, that will be how that's in its current format minus the July capital miss.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments from the board or exec? Nope. Seeing as there isn't any like commentary after this, yeah, we got to vote. So we'll go one by one if that's okay with you.
Do we like?
Or should we do
we
it
need
like?
to go one by one or?
Yeah, I feel like we could just. Yeah, we can just do it all.
Resolved that the
Yeah.
board adopts all policy amendments.
Okay. All right. So be it adopted that we approve all the policy changes as proposed by the policy committee. All those who approve, raise your hand and say aye. All those who oppose, say nay. Any abstentions? Seeing as there are none, the policy changes have been approved. So next item, as you can see, is the amendments and approval of the minutes, but I don't think Angela sent me any of the board meeting minutes, so we're gonna skip over that. Is there any business arising from the service council? Nope. Any business arising from the executive council? Yeah.
Just to make sure that PMF knows.
Yeah. Yeah. So contact PMF. Okay.
We didn't vote on.
We didn't vote on.
Well, we did last year.
But we just didn't contact them. We just need to contact them, which is We don't
Okay.
need to do that at board.
Yes.
One more thing, First Committee has a surplus of $300, and they're wondering how much they can reimburse for this use also at $50, right?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. And the rest just goes in the next budget? Yeah. Okay.
All right. And then the next one is business arising from the committees of board directors. That was the policy changes. There's no other business, so we're going to move on to discussion. So the first item of discussion is NSCC. This morning they came in for a presentation. Gray Mixon gave a presentation. So who wants to start off the discussion?
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
We do not relinquish any power and they get what they want.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are we all in agreement on this? Okay, so I think we do a vote for approving their NSCC's proposal.
He has a vote, he has a motion in the slides, so I'm gonna block the slide.
Okay, I'm gonna pull it up.
You know what I'm talking about. Be it resolved that the CUS Board of Directors and CUS Executive Council formally recognize the NSCC Board with the goal of driving greater accountability and efficacy of the NSCC executive team.
All right, so moved by,
I can't move.
well, yeah, who wants to
Someone
move
move
this
it.
motion? Move,
Alex, you can't move.
no, you
All
can't
right.
move, Alex. Ryan, moved by Ryan, seconded by Michael. All those who approve of this amendment or approval, raise your hand and say aye. All those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? Seeing as there are none, it has been approved. So the next item is the AMS. Catherine wanted me to put this on the discussion segment.
Okay, so last week at council, we actually had a discussion about the perch space and how the perch has now closed. So actually the AMS would like to hear from constituencies as well, what you guys would like to see in this space. Coming up Monday as well, we're beginning consultation. So the reason I'm bringing it up now is because we're going to turn over very soon. And I think it's better that I bring up the discussion before the last board meeting. So next week, we're going to have surveys from the AMS as well as an open house for spring welcome. So when that comes, it'd be nice if everyone here, especially the new incoming reps, could promote that survey. But right now, I just put this item on the agenda so we have like a really preliminary open discussion just from board and exec about what you guys want to see in the space. So if anyone has anything to say, that'd be great.
Root.
Gallery, something similar to the gallery.
Honestly, the gallery is my favorite bar that I've ever been to. It's so sick.
What was in the gallery?
Yeah, it's like
Food.
chill place,
So
so
chill.
they have food, there was like karaoke, there was a lounge.
You can really tell who the older
Gallery.
students are.
That wasn't like a total bar, it was a mix between a bar and casual, like.
Wow, like a cafe that had alcohol.
Exactly, it was a good time.
Okay,
That's
so
amazing. That's like honestly, if we could take back the old sub with all its like horrible shitty things, but we could have the gallery, I would do that like right now.
And then all those memorabilia on the walls.
Yeah.
okay.
Or the strip club.
Okay.
So actually, I think you guys probably know already, but a referendum has been passed for bring back the gal. So that's actually happening, but at the same time, the AMS wanted to explore other ways to use the space as well, before directly going into bringing back the gal. So if there's anything else.
No.
Berkut the second.
Okay,
Any other suggestions besides a coffee shop with alcohol?
shopping.
A shopping mall in that area?
Serious.
Well, if you want serious ideas,
I think the gallery is a pretty like serious idea. Yeah,
but if you don't want that, like I'd suggest everybody just come up with your own ideas and send them to Catherine, because
Yeah,
like
like
using this as a big brainstorming session is kind
this
of
is
not
Good idea.
the best idea.
Awesome. Kevin?
Yeah, what the Thunderbird Athletic Council is doing and then coming up, they're like renting out space that used to be the perch for like their celebrations. So I feel like that would be one of the possible options. You can have it like as a venue that you can rent and like have a party there kind of thing.
But that's what would happen with any sort of space.
But that's,
You could rent out, you could
Yeah,
rent
you could
out
do
the perch, and you could,
you could rent out the perch?
yeah, it's like any restaurant, you can rent out.
Well, I didn't know that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, so if anyone has ideas, like, please just send them to me. I guess since right now is probably not the best time to have a mass brainstorm.
Okay, so moving on, we're gonna talk about awards. So yesterday, the awards committee met up at school, and the chair we talked about our recommendations. I sent you guys a spreadsheet that Ryan actually made to tell you our recommendations. So to sum it up, we recommend.
Oh, should we move up in camera?
Oh yeah, sorry. Oh,
Do you want to connect the spreadsheet
Attention to
up there
detail.
so people who might not be actually paying attention?
Did someone move in camera?
yeah.
Move in camera.
Okay, motion to move in camera suggested by Ryan, seconded by the lovely Debbie. All those who approve, raise your hand and say aye. All those who oppose, say nay.
Oh, we got a motion to let the incoming.
Oh,
Yeah, motion to invite the incoming. Someone.
Wait, do you guys know what in-camera means? So to the incomings, in-camera basically means that, like, doesn't mean that we're filmed or anything, even though we kind of are, so we'll have to shut that down. It means that, like, everything we say is confidential. It does not leave this room. It's not documented in any minutes. It's something that we don't want the public to necessarily hear.
it's confidential.
Usually we do this, usually we do this to for things like this where it's like a surprise or we don't want like people to know about. Or it's like if we're firing someone and we want to protect the identity of those people. Or like if we're talking about performance, like usually we want to go in camera for those discussion items.
So I guess scrap the first motion. First motion will be someone motion to let the incoming people stay. Debbie?
Motion to invite the incoming and everybody in this room to
Seconded
remain in camera.
by KP. Seconded by Catherine Pan. All those who approve, raise your hand and say aye. All those who oppose, say nay. Any abstentions? Seeing as there are none, we will allow the incoming board members and everyone else in this room to stay in this room. So the next item would be someone motion to have this next portion be in camera. Motion by Debbie, seconded by Ryan Krasta, who lost it out to Debbie. All those who approve say aye. All those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? Seeing as there are none, has been approved. Bye.